I noticed his hand first, steady, practiced, almost bored, as he tilted the small silver vial over the rim of my glass. The powder bloomed in the champagne like a quiet storm. My smile froze mid-photo. The room spun with applause, camera flashes, fake congratulations. But all I saw was his thumb tapping the vial shut, a gesture so casual it made my stomach twist. And then he looked up, right at me. His expression didn't change. Not guilt, not hesitation, just recognition, as if he knew I had finally caught him. I didn't blink, didn't speak. My pulse hammered so loudly I could barely hear the orchestra, the toasts, the chatter. Everything else blurred into static. But my sister, bright and oblivious in the way the youngest children are trained to be, was standing close, smiling, waiting for her drink. So I handed her mine, and my father watched her take it. And I watched him. She lifted the glass. He didn't move. Neither did I. That was the moment. Right there, in the golden light of my own celebration, when everything I'd suspected snapped into focus, sharp as broken glass. And as she drank, I knew. He never intended for me to see. But he also never imagined what I'd do once I knew. There was a time when I believed my father's hand on my shoulder meant protection. When his voice, low, commanding, felt like a promise rather than a warning. He used to tell me I was his second chance, his legacy, the one who'd succeed where he had failed. I clung to his praise like oxygen. I didn't understand that love in our house was currency, conditional, temporary, a leash disguised as a gift. My sister never felt it. She adored him anyway. That was her flaw. She always believed the surface of things. I stopped believing long before this night. But I didn't have proof. Not until the scholarship money vanished. Not until the anonymous tip tried to frame me for cheating. Not until the quiet conversations stopped when I entered the room. Not until he made me realize the truth in fragments, sharp enough to cut but too scattered to assemble. Until tonight. Tonight, he gave me the final piece. The signs had been accumulating like dust. Easy to ignore if you didn't lift the edges. The controlled chaos in my bank account. The missing documents in my backpack. The way my father always knew what I hadn't told him. Then there was the argument I overheard through his office door. His voice low and strained, talking about removing the problem before I ruined everything. I thought he meant my attitude, my independence, my unwillingness to be molded into his successor. Turns out he meant something else entirely. And the more I uncovered, the clearer it became. Someone wanted me gone, and whoever it was had access to every part of my life. Someone who shared my blood. The moment I understood, something in me cooled. Not fear, not denial, just clarity. My father had always underestimated me. He taught me to be precise, strategic, calm under pressure. He just never expected me to use those lessons against him. I didn't confront him, didn't accuse, didn't warn. I watched. I memorized. I waited for him to make his move. He chose my graduation party. That mistake was his. What I did next was mine. My revenge didn't start tonight. Started weeks ago, the moment I sensed he was circling. I documented everything. Financial discrepancies, missing signatures, accounts linked to his name. I stored duplicates off-site, built a timeline.
A motive.
A pattern of behavior no investigator could ignore. I contacted a lawyer. Quietly, carefully. I changed the beneficiary status on my scholarship. I redirected power of attorney papers he forged. I filed statements under seal. Every piece was designed to fall into place with one final push. And the push came when he poured the powder. All I had to do was act like I hadn't seen. My sister finished the drink halfway through the dean's speech. She didn't collapse. She didn't convulse. She didn't even sway. Because the powder wasn't poison. It was a tranquilizer. Strong enough to cause public alarm, weak enough to avoid permanent harm. A substance that required a prescription my father didn't have. And on an adult? Illegal. On a minor? Criminal. She blinked, confused, then leaned into me as though tired. A soft stumble. A small scene. Enough for the event staff to react. Enough for security cameras to capture my father's expression when he rushed toward her. That look, panic, recognition, fear was my reward, because he knew what would happen when the hospital ran toxicology. When the police asked why the substance matched one he ordered last month. When the evidence I'd been collecting surfaced. He knew this wasn't an accident. He knew it was a mirror, a reflection of everything he tried to do to me. He knew I had finally outplayed him. My sister is safe, sleeping off the drug in a monitored hospital bed. She'll wake confused, but unharmed. I made sure of that. My father won't be waking up in his own bed tonight, or for many nights after. As for me, I'm breathing easier than I have in years. Justice isn't loud. It isn't violent. It's quiet, precise. A blade slipped between lies, and as the police led my father out of the ballroom, his eyes locked on mine. Rage, disbelief, fear twisting together. I finally felt what I'd been denied my whole life. Control. He taught me how to win, but he never understood one thing. I was never his second chance. He was mine.